This is the thing. I had been practicing for 15 years when I got pregnant with my son. And I did not get pregnant easily. I was just one of those people, like, it took some doing, and acupuncture and stinky tea and taking my temperature every morning and, you know, peeing on sticks, and it's very sexy. And eventually, and I went to see Maori healers and had my uterus rolfed by a giant. You know, it was not easy. And then eventually I went to a fertility doctor, and he was like, oh, your estrogen's a little low, allow me to help. And then boom, done. So, but when I got pregnant with him, you know, the first time I went to my mat after I knew I was pregnant, I had this thought. Before I started practicing, I stood on my mat and I'm like, okay, I have to be gentle. There's someone in here counting on me. And then, I mean, in my next breath, I was like, it was like, you know, when the record screeches to a stop, it was like that. I was like, whoa, wait, what did I just say to myself? And why do I have to remind myself to be gentle and think of it like, oh, there's someone in here counting on me? Like, there's always someone in here counting on me, right? And why does it take another being to be inside before I start to think about being gentle? And so my point in sharing the story is that you can practice yoga for a really long time and understand the concepts and not apply them to yourself. And that is a huge reason I wrote the book. So, you know, I feel like there are a lot of people out there who've been practicing, and I'm, you know, just as it did for me, I think it shifts things in your life naturally. But when I finally got it, and that was a light bulb moment for me as a person, as a teacher, as a parent. You know, I really got it. The very first thing, the very first yama is ahimsa, non-harming. It's number one. So, you know, there's sort of like yoga's shalls and shall nots, or, you know, however you want to look at it, but non-harming. And so, you know, for example, I would never hurt another person intentionally. You know, I would go out of my way to make sure I didn't do that, but my inner voice was still really harsh, critical, unforgiving, even on my mat, because I do have that type A thing, you know, and I had brought it on my mat with me, which is what we do. And so if I didn't have like a really strong practice, or I didn't do all the poses I wanted, I'd be like bummed out with myself. And the days that I did and I felt strong and great and energetic, I felt really good. And I'm like, oh, I have been doing the exact same thing on my mat that I do in my life. So that is what I'm talking about. You know, there are a whole bunch of them, but that's like one example. And how do you shift that inner voice? And how do you shift that tendency? And I started working on that actively while I was pregnant with my son on my mat. I'm like, I need to get this, because I'm going to be a better person, teacher, but mom, if I understand how to be kind to myself